Greetings everyone. Once again, this is Ezri Mkodo Jr., Assistant Professor 3 at the Rizal Memorial Colleges Incorporated, and the instructor for this subject, Experimental Psychology, for this semester. Once again, I am welcoming you all, my students and other students from other schools, to this chapter 5 or 5th chapter of the Experimental Psychology book. This is entitled Alternatives to Experimentation, Correlational and Quasi-experimental Designs. Included in this discussion will be the correlational designs, causal modeling, and quasi-experimental designs. So if you could remember, we have discussed experimental designs before on the previous chapters, non-experimental designs before, some of it, I think, survey and interviews were already discussed in the previous chapters. Right now, we will be discussing correlational and quasi-experimental designs. And I hope you will learn something from this. To my students, kindly follow the instructions that I gave you for this video, and to the other students from other schools or students from RMC who are interested in this particular video or topic for this video, you may post your comment, suggestion, or questions in the comment section so that I may be able to answer or address it in the comment section itself. So let's start. Again, please bear with me as I discuss or try my very best to discuss this topic because I am having cough right now, and sometimes I will try to mute myself when I am having cough. So please bear with me. And again, if you have questions, do not hesitate to ask me in the comment section. So let's start. Correlational studies. So I have heard before researchers, not just students, but not just undergrad students, but also postgrad students, that correlational studies are trying to establish cause and effect relationship, which is basically not true, because correlational study, as an example of an alternative to a non-experimental research design, it is not an experiment. It is not an experiment in the sense that experimental research designs has a characteristic of manipulating their respondents or the variables that they are trying to study in their respondents. So in short, there are manipulations on the assigned treatment or conditions to the respondents. That is why we can say that the cause of the changes in our dependent variables are our independent variables. So those are the reasons why we can say that experimental research designs can establish cause and effect relationship. Whereas in correlational studies, we could not say that we are determining the cause and effect relationship of the certain variables that we are trying to study. It's because the correlational study, we are just merely observing. We are just merely determining the relationship or the degree of relationship between the behaviors, the traits, or the events that are already existing in the natural world or in the natural setting itself. So we're not trying to manipulate something. We're just trying to observe and record what we are observing. So that is what we do in correlational study. I hope that is clear to every one of us. Sana klaro yan, no? Na wala tayong cause and effect sa ating correlational study. Now, correlation, in summary, it determines the degree of relationship between two variables. So, in short, no, in a correlational study, kapag may IV at saka DV tayo, we are not saying that the cause of the changes of the traits or the behaviors or changes in the events in our DV are always attributable to our IV. Kasi nga, wala nga tayong manipulation and there are a lot of factors who are in play that we cannot we cannot control because we are not trying to do an experiment. So in short, we are just observing. That's why degree of relationship, extent of relationship lang yung pwede nating establish. Kung strong or kung positive ba yung correlation or yung degree of relationship, or negative ba yung degree of relationship, or strong ba or weak yung kanilang relationship ng dalawang variables, yung IV at saka DV. May tinatawag tayo na multiple correlation. So multiple correlation, it means that you have a lot of variables. 3 or more variables. So simply that. Meron din tayong linear regression analysis because in correlation, we're trying to correlate variables. Of course, the IV and DV. And sa multiple correlation, multiple variables. Now, if you already have a result of these variables, for example, you're trying to know the relationship of academic performance and which is very magasgas na siya, as a research title. You want to know the academic performance, the level of academic performance, and the socioeconomic status of your students. For example, you're trying to correlate that. So if your study has a positive and strong correlation, it means that you can use linear regression analysis. Now, whenever ang student mo is nasa ganitong social or yung level ng kanyang socioeconomic status based on your research, na kapag ganito siya, it's possible na ganitong level din ang kanyang academic performance. So that is how we use linear regression analysis. It means that we can predict scores based from the variable that we have correlated into. Ang unang variable natin na socioeconomic status, pwede natin i-correlate ang kanyang socioeconomic status sa scores ng kanyang academic performance. So we can predict, we can say that kapag ganito yung socioeconomic status niya, posibleng ganito yung kanyang academic performance. I hope that is clear, okay? So we also have multiple regression analysis. So ayan, maraming variables lang ang ipipredict mo. And factor analysis. It determines subsets of correlated variables within a larger set of variables. Ibig sabihin, if you have a general set of variable and then you have subsets or yung tinatawag natin minsan na indicators. Or ibig sabihin, yung indicators or yung variables under sa isang main variable. Now, for example, you are trying to know, the level of the level of depression and the level of suicide ideation or the relationship among those variables. And then under suicide ideation itself, you have various indicators or variables. Now, shall we say the interpersonal social theory of suicide ideation ni Dr. Thomas Joyner, na yung indicators niya doon is yung perceived burdensomeness or yung paniniwala ng isang individual na pabigat na siya sa kanyang pamilya or sa mga kagrupo niya. Yun yung tinatawag na perceived burdensomeness. Pangalawa is kapag ina-isolate niya yung sarili niya, yung tinatawag natin na social alienation, ina-isolate niya yung sarili niya sa family niya, sa friends niya, at sa lahat ng tao. Na parang wala na siyang pwedeng makausap or pwedeng masabihan ng kanyang mga problema. So, yun yung social alienation. At pangatlo is yung acquired ability to enact lethal self-injury. Ibig sabihin, kaya niya saktan yung sarili niya. So, yun yung mga subsets natin. And in this case, because we have variables under a general variable, we can use factor analysis. And I hope that is clear, okay? We also have path analysis. Now, it uses beta ways from multiple regression analysis to generate possible direction of cause and effect from correlated variables. Now, we have the term cause and effect here, despite path analysis is for non-experimental study. Ibig sabihin, bakit sabi mo kanina, sir, yung ating correlational designs is para sa non-experimental designs lang? Bakit may cause and effect, possible direction of cause and effect ang path analysis, as well as itong cross-log panel design? Now, let's try to see. No? So, ano ba yung path analysis? Or, anong research design ba? No? kailan or anong research design ba na aangkop yung ating path analysis? So path analysis and structural equation model or yung kasama ng path analysis, no? Tinatawag din siyang structural equation modeling are techniques to assess the direct causal contribution of one variable to another in a non-experimental situation. Ibig sabihin, ina-identify niya at ina-assess niya kung ano yung possible, no, or direct na causal contribution of one variable to another. Or may contribution ba itong variable na ito sa another variable? Kasi yung path analysis is a precursor to and a subset of structural equation modeling. Sinasabi natin structural equation modeling, napakaraming mga variables yan. Hindi lang isa, hindi lang dalawa. So marami yan. No? Yung structure niya itself is marami yung kasama. No? Kabahagi. It is a method to discern and assess the effects of a set of variables acted on a specified outcome via multiple causal pathways. So kailan ba pwedeng gamitin ito? So, kailan ba pwedeng gamitin ang path analysis? Now, path analysis can be used to analyze models that are more complex and realistic than multiple regression. So, kapag mas marami yung ating variables, at saka mas realistic siya, no? Kasi we have multiple regression naman. For us to analyze, ano ba yung relationship ng mga variables na ito? Ang dami masyado, no? So, it can compare different models to determine which one best fits the data. And path analysis can disprove a model that postulates causal relations among variables. So, it can disprove a model if there is already a certain model that establishes causal relations among variables, no, certain variables. It could be useful, no, for that as well. But it cannot prove causality. So, causal contribution lang. Ibig sabihin, posibleng may contribution, no, or may contribution sa changes, but it cannot prove causality na it's the main reason why nagkaroon ng changes. Hindi ganyan, no? Hindi siya formal na cause and effect, or hindi siya yung yung sinasabi natin na main reason ng changes sa isang variable. Yan yung past analysis. Now, yung cross-log design naman, cross-log panel design, it measures the same pair of variables at two different points in time. Ibig sabihin, the same variables were being tested but in two different points in time. Before or after, no, or from 2001 and 2003, yung unang point of time is 2001, ikalawang point of time is 2003. So, bakit kailangan, no, na two different points in time? Because it looks at patterns of correlations. Kung yung patterns ba ng variables na itinitest niya or mini-measure niya is nag-iiba over time. May changes ba over time? So, yung kanyang moderating variable dito is time. Kung may possible direction ba of cause and effect, again, no, may cause and effect naman. Kasi itong si cross-log panel design is related ito kay path analysis. Maaring maraming variables yung pwedeng pinag-aaralan sa cross-log panel design, kaya mas epektibo yung path analysis kaysa sa multiple regression. I hope that is clear. Okay, let's continue. Meron din tayong quasi-experimental design. So ano ba yung differences ng experimental at saka quasi-experimental at saka non-experimental? Kasi ang experimental is klaro na may manipulation. Ang non-experimental is wala naman. Ano yung quasi-experimental? Or kabahagi ba ng non-experimental itong quasi-experimental design? Let's try to investigate. Now, quasi-experimental design investigates differences in pre-existing groups of subjects. Group differences on some variable may be explored or different treatments given to pre-existing groups may be compared. So, ibig sabihin, observation lang ang quasi-experimental design. Yung ino-observe niya ay yung mga pre-existing groups or subjects na dumaan na sa or may nag-e-exist na, no? Sa isang situation or sa isang research setting. So ibig sabihin, may IV siya, may DV siya, may condition siya, may treatment siya, pero walang manipulation. Ino-observe lang yung changes, ino-observe lang yung responses, ino-observe lang yung mga pre-existing variables na nasa groups or pre-existing groups of subjects na din. So yan yung quasi, para siyang experiment kaso walang manipulation, ino-observe lang. Now, post facto studies naman, it explores characteristics, behaviors, or effects of naturally occurring events in pre-existing groups of subjects. So, itong post facto studies naman, mga characteristics, behaviors, or effects naman na nag-naturally occur sa isang events o sa isang pre-existing groups of subjects. Minsan, ang mga studies na ito ay nag-i-include ng mga phenomenological studies. Ay mga phenomenon na, ano ba mga phenomenon tulad ng teenage pregnancy? Ano ba yung characteristic behaviors at effects ng teenage pregnancy sa isang group of subjects? Of course, sa mga teenager. So, yun yung example ng post facto studies. Meron din tayong non-equivalent group designs. Ano ba ang non-equivalent group designs? So, it compares the effect of different treatment condition in pre-existing group of subjects. So, we have group A and group B, and then it compares the treatment condition for the control and experimental group. So, yan yung non-equivalent group designs. Meron din tayong longitudinal design. Ano naman ang longitudinal design? So, ang longitudinal design, it investigates changes across time by nag-next na siya. By measuring behavior of same group of subjects at different stages at single points in time. So, ibig sabihin yung longitudinal design, yung example niyan is yung other points in time din. For example, the same subjects, ito same group of subjects, and then their mental health nila mental status nila were being examined at the age of 15 or adolescent. And then they were being tested again at the age of 20 or 21 during the early or emerging adulthood stage. The same subject pa rin. Sila pa rin yung tinest sa unang point of time at sa last or panghuling point of time. Yan yung longitudinal designs. Now, moving on, meron din tayong cross-sectional studies, where it investigates the change across time by comparing groups of subjects already at different stages at a single point in time. So, as compared to longitudinal design, same groups yon, same subjects yon. Ibig sabihin, tinest sila, for example, tinest sila on 2005 at nagkaroon na naman ng test on 2010. Datong cross-sectional studies is the same variable, but yung respondents is from this point of time, another group. For example, ito yung age nila from 24 years of age or nasa emerging adulthood or middle adulthood. And then yung isang grupo is adolescents or mga nasa late adulthood. So yun yung cross-sectional studies. Iba-ibang grupo sila and they were being compared. And lastly, we have the pretest post-test design. It explores the effects of an event or treatment by comparing behavior before and after the event or yung treatment o yung intervention mismo. So may pretest tayo. Ibig sabihin, wala pang intervention, wala pang treatment, may pretest. Ano ba yung level of behavior nila? Ano ba yung level ng kanilang behavior before yung treatment at condition? May pretest. Pagkatapos ng pretest yung intervention or yung treatment. And after the condition or treatment or intervention, may post-test or may test ulit. So, yun yung pretest post-test design. So, yun yung kasali natin sa mga alternatives to experimentation regarding correlational and quasi-experimental designs. Other designs or alternatives to experimentation will be discussed, I think, from to the next part of this video series for experimental psychology. Again, if you have questions, comments, or suggestions, do not hesitate to comment it in the comment section para ma-address natin, ano? And for my students for this subject, for this semester, please follow the instructions I gave you for this video for your task. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you learned something from this video. Again, this is Ezri Mcoda Jr. of RMC Incorporated under the Psychology Program of the College of Arts and Sciences, Assistant Professor 3. Thank you so much and have a great day ahead. See you next video.